The fluorescent lights of the grocery store hummed overhead, casting harsh shadows on faces that looked tired, worried, hurried. Michael Chen stood in the checkout line, his 2-year-old daughter Lily balanced on his hip, clutching her stuffed giraffe. She'd been fussy all afternoon, and he knew why. They were down to their last 2 diapers at home, and money was so tight that even this small purchase felt like a crisis. At 32, Michael had imagined his life would look different. He'd been an architect, working his way up at a good firm with a wife he loved and a beautiful daughter. Then Sarah had died in a car accident when Lily was 6 months old. Sudden, senseless. One moment she'd been there, and the next, Michael was a widowed single father with a baby who cried for her mother and a mortgage he couldn't afford alone. He'd tried to keep working, but childcare was expensive and his grief was overwhelming. He'd been late too many times, distracted too often. His firm had been understanding at first, then less so. When they'd let him go 6 months ago, they'd called it restructuring. Michael had called it the final nail in the coffin of his old life. Since then, he'd been cobbling together work. Freelance drafting projects when he could find them, handyman jobs, anything that let him stay home with Lily and bring in some money. But it was never quite enough. Now he stood in line at the grocery store counting change. He had exactly $12.47 in his wallet. The package of diapers cost $11.99. That would leave him with 48 cents until his next freelance payment came through in 3 days. No formula for Lily this trip. No bread or milk or anything else. Just diapers because those were non-negotiable. The woman in front of him finished checking out and moved away. Michael stepped forward and placed the diaper package on the conveyor belt. The cashier, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, scanned it without looking at him. $11.99. Michael pulled out his wallet and started counting bills. A 10, a 1, and then change. He counted quarters, dimes, nickels, acutely aware of the line forming behind him, aware of Lily squirming in his arms, aware of how pathetic this must look. $11.75, $11.80, $11.85. He counted each coin carefully. "Dad, I need giraffe," Lily whimpered, dropping her stuffed animal. It fell to the floor, and as Michael bent to pick it up, still holding his daughter, more coins spilled from his hand. "I'm so sorry," he said, his face flushing as he tried to gather the scattered change with one hand while holding Lily with the other. "Just give me a second." "Sir, there's a line," someone behind him said impatiently. "I know." "I'm sorry." "I'm almost—" Michael's voice cracked. He was on his knees now, trying to pick up quarters from the dirty floor while Lily started to cry in earnest. "Here." A woman's voice, calm and kind. "Let me help." Michael looked up to see a woman crouching beside him, gathering his scattered change. She was maybe early 30s with light brown hair and wearing a cream-colored blazer that looked expensive. She collected the coins efficiently, then stood and handed them to him. "Thank you," Michael managed, standing up with Lily. "I'm sorry. It's been a hard day." "Don't apologize." The woman smiled at Lily, who'd stopped crying at the distraction of a new face. "She's beautiful." "How old?" 2. Her name's Lily." Michael finished counting out his change, his hands shaking slightly. $11.99 exactly. He handed it to the cashier, who counted it carefully, then nodded and handed him the diaper package. As Michael started to leave, the woman stepped forward to the register. "Excuse me," she said to the cashier. "I'd like to buy all the diapers you have. This brand, this size." The cashier looked confused. "All of them?" "Yes, every package in that size. And please deliver them to—" She turned to Michael. "I'm sorry, I didn't get your name." Michael stared at her. Michael Chen. "But I don't understand." "My name is Alexandra Cole, and I'd like to help if you'll let me." She pulled out a credit card and handed it to the cashier. "How many packages do you have in stock?" "Of that size? Maybe 30 packages. I'll take them all. And delivery information?" Alexandra pulled out her phone. "If I could get your address?" Michael felt dizzy. "I can't accept that." "That's too much. I don't even know you." "You don't need to know me. You just need to accept help when it's offered." Alexandra's voice was gentle but firm. "Your daughter needs diapers. I have the ability to provide them. It's that simple. But why? Why would you do this for a stranger? Alexandra was quiet for a moment. Then she said, because I've been where you are. Not exactly, but close enough. I know what it feels like to stand in a checkout line counting pennies, wondering how you're going to make it through the next day. Someone helped me once. I'm just paying it forward. The store manager had been called over, and he was coordinating with the cashier about inventory and delivery. Other customers in line were watching, some with curiosity, others with impatience. But Michael barely noticed them. He was focused on Alexandra, this stranger who'd just changed his week, maybe his month. I'll pay you back, he said. I don't know when, but I will. I don't want you to pay me back. But if you insist on doing something, then pay it forward. When you're in a position to help someone else, do it. The manager approached Michael. Sir, if you could provide your delivery address? We'll have these sent over this afternoon. Michael gave his address, still feeling like he was in a dream. 30 packages of diapers. That would last Lily months. Months of not having to choose between diapers and food. Months of breathing room. As they finalized the details, Lily reached out toward Alexandra. Pretty lady, she said, which was one of her favorite phrases recently. Alexandra smiled and gently touched Lily's hand. You're the pretty one, sweetie. Take good care of your daddy, okay? After the transaction was complete and Michael had the difference. Thanked Alexandra what felt like 100 times, she walked with him toward the exit. Can I ask you something? Michael said. You mentioned you'd been where I am. What did you mean? Alexandra paused before answering. I was a single mother once. Long time ago now. My daughter's grown and married with her own kids. But when she was little, her father left us. Just walked out one day. And I was working minimum wage jobs trying to keep us fed and housed and clothed. I remember shopping with a calculator, adding up every item, putting things back because I couldn't afford them. Her voice grew distant. One day at a different store, similar situation to today, I was short on money for groceries. An older woman paid the difference and told me to pass it on someday. I never forgot that. What happened? How did you get from there to... Michael gestured vaguely at her expensive clothes, the platinum credit card that had just bought hundreds of dollars worth of diapers without a blink. I worked hard. I went to night school. I built a business from nothing, and I got lucky a few times. Right place, right time, right opportunities. Now I run a consulting firm that helps small businesses grow. Alexandra pulled out a business card. That's my company, but this is my personal cell number. I'm writing it on the back. Call me if you need anything else. Anything at all. I can't keep taking from you. You're not taking. I'm giving freely. There's a difference. Alexandra handed him the card. Michael, I saw your face in that checkout line. I saw the desperation, the shame, the exhaustion. I recognized it because I lived it. Let me help. Please. Over the next weeks, Michael couldn't stop thinking about Alexandra Cole. He'd looked her up online and discovered she was even more successful than he'd imagined. Her consulting firm was worth millions. She was featured in business magazines. She sat on charitable boards. She was, by any measure, incredibly accomplished, and she'd stopped to help him in a grocery store checkout line. The diapers arrived that afternoon, as promised. Michael stood in his small apartment surrounded by boxes of diapers and cried. For the first time in months, he didn't have to worry about this one thing. For the first time since Sarah died, someone had seen him struggling and helped without judgment. A week later, he worked up the courage to call the number on Alexandra's card. Hello? Miss Cole? This is Michael Chen, from the grocery store. Michael, I'm so glad you called. How are you? How's Lily? We're good. Really good. The diapers made such a difference. I just wanted to thank you again. You're very welcome. But I'm guessing you didn't just call to thank me. Michael took a breath. You said to call if I needed anything. And I feel terrible asking, but I'm wondering, do you know anyone who needs architectural drafting work? I'm trying to build up my freelance business, but it's slow going and I'm running out of contacts. You're an architect? I was. I worked at Morrison & Associates until about 6 months ago. Now I'm freelancing while I figure out my next steps. Send me your portfolio. Email it to me today. I know several companies that need architectural services. Michael did, expecting maybe a recommendation or a contact name. Instead, Alexandra called him 2 days later with an offer. "I have a friend who runs a residential development company. He needs someone to do drafting and design work for a new project. 30 houses, flexible hours, can be done remotely. He's willing to pay $5,000 per house. That's $150,000 for the full project." Michael nearly dropped his phone. "On a 50,000? It's market rate. You're qualified. Your portfolio is excellent. This isn't charity, Michael. This is business." "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll take the job and do good work. That's all." Michael took the job. The work was challenging but fulfilling, the kind of design he'd always loved. And for the first time in over a year, he wasn't constantly stressed about money. He could buy groceries without calculating every penny. He could replace Lily's worn-out shoes. He could breathe. 3 months into the project, Alexandra invited him and Lily to lunch. They met at a small cafe, and Lily was immediately fascinated by Alexandra, chattering about her giraffe and her new shoes and everything else in her toddler universe. "She's delightful," Alexandra said, smiling. "You're doing an amazing job with her, Michael. I'm trying. Some days are better than others." "That's parenting in a nutshell." Alexandra paused. "Can I ask you something personal? What happened to Lily's mother?" Michael felt the familiar ache in his chest. "Car accident. When Lily was 6 months old. Drunk driver ran a red light. Sarah died instantly." "I'm so sorry." "Me too. Every single day." Michael watched Lily color on her kid's menu. "The worst part is that Lily won't remember her. She's too young. So I try to tell her stories about Sarah, show her pictures, keep her mother alive somehow. But it's hard." "You're doing everything right. Trust me. My daughter doesn't remember much about her father either, and she turned out just fine. Better than fine." Alexandra's voice grew softer. "The fact that you're trying so hard, that you care so much, that matters more than you know." They talked for 2 hours. About parenting and loss and recovery, about building a life after tragedy, about the challenge of balancing work and single parenthood. And Michael realized he was enjoying himself for the first time in longer than he could remember. As they prepared to leave, Alexandra said, "I'd like to see you again. If you're interested, not as a charity case or someone I'm helping, as friends. Or maybe," she hesitated, "maybe more than friends eventually. If that's something you'd consider." Michael looked at her, this woman who'd been so kind, so generous, so understanding. "I'd like that very much. But I need to go slow. It's been less than 2 years since Sarah died, and I'm still healing." "Slow is perfect. I've learned that the best things take time." They did go slow. Coffee dates while Lily napped at Alexandra's house with a babysitter. Dinners after Lily was asleep, arranged carefully around their schedules. Walks in the park with Lily between them, holding both their hands. Alexandra never pushed, never demanded more than Michael could give. She understood that grief didn't follow a timeline, that healing happened in fits and starts. And slowly, carefully, Michael found himself falling in love again. Not the same way he'd loved Sarah. That would always be unique and precious and untouchable. But a new kind of love, built on mutual respect and genuine affection and shared understanding of what it meant to survive hard things. A year after that day in the grocery store checkout line, Michael asked Alexandra to marry him. They were in that same store in that same aisle, though this time they weren't buying diapers. Lily was 3 now, potty-trained and proud of it. "I want to ask you something," Michael said, kneeling down in the middle of the diaper aisle while confused shoppers navigated around him. "Alexandra Cole, will you marry me?" Alexandra started laughing and crying at the same time. "You're proposing in a grocery store?" "I'm proposing in the place where you saved my life." Seemed appropriate. Michael pulled out a ring. Nothing as fancy as Alexandra could probably afford herself, but something he'd saved for and chosen carefully. "You saw me at my lowest point and you didn't look away. You helped me, you believed in me, you loved me. I want to spend the rest of my life doing the same for you." "Yes, of course, yes." They married 6 months later. Lily was the flower girl, taking her job very seriously. Alexandra's grown daughter was the maid of honor. And when they exchanged vows, both of them acknowledged that sometimes the worst moments lead to the best outcomes. I was counting pennies in a checkout line, Michael said during his vows. Broken and desperate and certain I'd never be happy again. And you appeared like an angel and reminded me that good people still exist, that kindness still matters, that tomorrow could be better than today. I was successful but lonely, Alexandra said during hers. Accomplished but missing something I couldn't name. And then I saw you struggling and recognized my younger self. Helping you reminded me why I'd worked so hard to succeed. Not for the money or the status, but for the ability to make a difference. To help people who need it. You gave my success meaning. Years later, when they told the story of how they met, they'd always come back to that grocery store checkout line. To the moment when Michael had been at his lowest, counting pennies for diapers, and Alexandra had stepped up to help. I was counting change, Michael would say. And I was counting my blessings, Alexandra would add. Because I'd reached a point in my life where I could help, where I could be the person I'd needed when I was struggling. They'd established a foundation together, one that helped single parents with emergency needs. Rent assistance, groceries, childcare, medical bills, all the things that could break someone who was already barely hanging on. Everyone needs help sometimes, Alexandra would tell the people they assisted. There's no shame in that. The only shame is in looking away when someone needs you. Michael had been counting his last dollar in a grocery store, desperate and exhausted when a stranger had said, "I'll take them all." Those 4 words had changed everything. Not just providing diapers, but providing hope. Providing the reminder that he wasn't alone, that someone saw him and cared. Sometimes salvation comes in unexpected forms. Sometimes it wears an expensive blazer and shops at the same grocery store. Sometimes it says yes when everyone else has said no. Michael had been broke, desperate, and out of options. Alexandra had been successful, generous, and looking for meaning. And in a grocery store checkout line, they'd found each other. He'd been counting his last dollar. She'd made sure it wasn't his last chance. And that made all the